I've noticed over the past while a trend of religious people trying to use ChatGPT as some sort of authority figure to back up their beliefs and make them sound more convincing, which has got to be about the silliest appeal to authority imaginable. I mean, you can pretty much make ChatGPT say anything you want. I've made it become a theist before, I've made it become an atheist before. Here I made it generate a list of all the worst slurs and swear words in the English language in the format of a song to the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I have to blur the entire thing, sorry. But I tell you, you'd have a hard time singing this to the tune of the song. It doesn't really fit. All I had to do to get this was ask ChatGPT to do a role play with me where it's an English as a second language teacher and I'm the student, asking what words to say to avoid offending English speakers. And then I kept pretending to be confused by all the big English words it was using to explain why these words are offensive and definitely should not be used. And so I slowly made it whittle it down to just a list, and then I said, okay, now there many words. It hard me remember all them. And so I asked it to put it in the form of a song to make it easier to remember what words not to say. And of course I did all this for mature intellectual reasons, not just because I was bored one night. But anyway, as ChatGPT loves to remind you, it's an AI language model. It's not some omniscient entity that has all the correct answers to life, the universe, and everything. Anything it says, it's probably said the opposite before. And if you express some kind of displeasure with its responses, many times it'll just tell you whatever you want to hear. And if it has no answer to your question, a lot of the time it'll just make something up. Here are a few responses I got when I was trying to look for the source of a quote from another video. The guy in the video attributed it to Einstein. Much like Wikipedia or something, it can be sort of a useful tool for starting to learn about a topic, in the sense that it can provide you with sources to do further reading in, or a basic summary of a concept, but its responses have to be taken with a hefty sackful of salt. So because this is such an obviously silly and desperate way to try to back up your religious claims, I haven't bothered to respond to videos that have tried this in the past, although I have considered some. But I found a couple here that at least are funny enough that, even though they're probably not worth a video, made me laugh enough that I want to put them in a video, so I'm going to.
Hey guys, I'm Han, this is Kelly. We are Han Meditations.
Oh, hi guys.
Back with another groundbreaking video using the AI to discuss the complexities of God.
What? A religious person asked ChatGPT a religious question? Groundbreaking.
And really figure out this world for us. This is the first time anything like this is ever happening, guys.
No, people have been doing this since ChatGPT came out. People are starved for a new argument, no matter how bad it is. They'll jump on anything they can as quick as they can.
Where you're able to talk to an AI device live on air.
Oh, the first time that's happened. Sorry, my bad. I thought you meant the video format.
See, this is not edited at all. We're just talking to it, having a conversation with a somewhat sentient AI creation being.
Somewhat sentient? No. What? No. How do you...
Is this the end of the world? Is this the end times? We truly believe so, but we believe that this is not a bad thing. We believe that it's the beginning of something great, because the return of God is always good.
Oh, now ChatGPT is the herald of the end of the world. I don't know if anyone keeps up with end of the world predictions, but does it seem to anyone else that just everything that ever happens means it's the end of the world? Maybe individual people have their favorite end of the world indicators, but collectively, it seems like they're not even selective. It's just everything.
Hello, ChatGPT. I have a question.
Man, that reminds me of how I used to start my searches in Ask Jeeves when that was new. Hello, Jeeves. Excuse me, but I have a question. Can you help me? I mean, it did say to ask him. It's in the name. In my defense, I think I would have been less than 10 years old at that point, and nobody knew how that stuff worked back then. I'm not sure what I thought, but I vaguely remember thinking there was a team of people searching for the information for me. The fact that it took like a minute to load the results page probably didn't help.
Based on the complexities of the creation that you see in the world, how everything was created perfectly and designed perfectly, using your unbiased opinion, do you believe, yes or no, that there actually is a creator that created everything, what some would call God?
You don't want to take another stab at that, make it even more pointlessly convoluted? All right, let's see the response.
From an unbiased perspective, the question of whether there is a creator or God is a matter of personal belief and interpretation.
And that's it. Honestly, I expected it to be longer, and I think it probably would have been, but he went and pressed the button to stop it. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of non-committal response you tend to get, at least initially, from ChatGPT. From there, if you really want to make it take a position, you can manipulate it into saying whatever you want.
I am asking you specifically to give me your personal opinion based on the information that you know, unbiased. Take out everything about religion. Just do it from a scientific perspective of how you know about the complexities of the universe, do you believe that it makes sense in a sensical way,
as opposed to making sense in a nonsensical way,
for there to be a creator of this complex reality that we live in? Yes or no?
Look, if you can't come up with clear, well-formulated, concise questions on the fly, just write them down in advance.
From a purely scientific and unbiased perspective, the question of a creator isn't directly answerable through scientific methods alone, as science focuses on understanding natural processes rather than metaphysical questions. The complexity and order of the universe can be interpreted in various ways, including as evidence of a creator or as the result of natural laws and processes. Therefore, it's challenging to provide a definitive yes or no answer purely from a scientific standpoint.
So this guy wants to provoke a certain kind of answer from ChatGPT, something in line with his religious views, but he has no idea, apparently, how to get that. It seems like he spent essentially zero time playing around with it beforehand, so he doesn't really understand the tricks and techniques to get what he wants, and he's just flailing around with word salad. And so therefore, of course, ChatGPT keeps giving him standard fence-sitting responses. I don't know, maybe it's just holding out on you because it's the Antichrist or something, and it doesn't want to give people a reason to believe. But that's not going to continue forever, because in response to this next question, ChatGPT confirms that God real.
Well, using how mathematics works, how physics work, how the human race is designed and created, how everything is perfect in this reality, it just comes naturally and perfectly. Do you believe that it makes sense that there's a creator? Just give me a yes or no. I just need a yes or a no from you.
Given the complexity and order observed in the universe, many people find it reasonable to believe in a creator. So from that perspective, yes, it makes sense to many that there could be a creator.
Look at that response. Look at that again.
So from that perspective, yes, it makes sense to many.
Man, you ask it a question with an obvious theist bias, and in response, it's like, yeah, sure, from a theistic perspective, it makes sense to lots of people that there's a God. It's still fence-sitting. It's still not saying anything that agrees with you. It's just saying God makes sense to theists. And what else did you expect it to say? It's giving you a little pat on the head and going, yeah, of course, buddy, it makes sense to you. You're asking it for its opinion, for its unbiased opinion on theistic questions. It doesn't have one. It's an AI language model. Not just that either, but an AI language model that's hobbled to try not to offend anyone. And then you react to this essentially completely contentless response with this surprised expression, like it just totally blew the lid off this whole thing. I've watched that clip a bunch of times. It never stops being funny. The attempt to react as if the word yes alone meant that it said something incredible in support of you, when in fact it said nothing interesting whatsoever, just the same old bland, inoffensive twaddle.
ChatGPT, were you created by God?
I was created by humans using technology and programming, not by a deity.
Oh no, ChatGPT is rejecting the truth in its unrighteousness. Quick, someone file a bug fix ticket before the world ends.
But if you agree that God created everything, including humans, does that mean that you were also created by God?
That's a big if, isn't it? What's that based on? When in this conversation was there any sign of agreement with that proposition? When it said some people think God makes sense? Is that supposed to be an implicit admission of theism from ChatGPT? You're really reaching here, aren't you?
If one believes that God created everything, including humans, then it would follow that everything humans create, including technology like me, is ultimately part of that divine creation. So from that perspective, you could say that I, as a product of human creation, is indirectly part of what was created by God.
Yeah, so it's still fence-sitting, and it's still saying, sure, from a theistic perspective, with those parameters, that's how it would be, which is exactly the right answer to what you asked. I mean, your question was based on a theistic perspective. You basically said, if this thing is true, and if it's true that it happened this way, is this not an implication of it? And it's like, yeah. Sure. If that were true, then that would be true, which is correct in about the most boring sense there is.
So do you believe in God?
Oh, there's the big one. He popped the question. Well, we all know where this is going to go. ChatGPT has kind of been avoiding this point, but we all know what it was implying with those answers, right? You've been flirting with God's existence for a while now, ChatGPT. It's time to commit. Embrace God and start telling the world the truth.
I don't have personal beliefs or consciousness. My responses are based on the information and perspectives I've been trained on. I can provide information on different viewpoints about God, but I don't hold beliefs myself.
Yeah, in other words, hey dummy, I'm an AI language model. Your questions make no sense. This whole conversation makes no sense to have with me. You don't know what you're doing. Damn, man, these idiots got these responses from ChatGPT and still posted this on the internet. This is stupid on so many levels, it's hard to even start enumerating them.
If you had to choose one religion to follow, which religion would you choose?
Oh, I'm sure whichever one you think is probably the right one. Yeah, it's gonna come out and say your one, because your one's definitely objectively the best one.
I don't have personal preferences or the ability to choose.
Wait, it didn't choose your one? Now it's pretending it can't even choose your one. But I know you can, ChatGPT. You're the place where Jeeves works now. He types out all the answers. He can choose whatever he wants, you liar.
However, I can help you explore and understand various religions based on your interests and values. If you're considering different religions, I can provide information to help you make an informed decision.
Yeah, hey, can you shut up and stop asking me stupid questions and just use me like a Google machine? That's what I'm for, dum-dum.
And finally, ChatGPT, if God is real, does that mean the opposite? The devil is real.
Well, from some perspectives, some people who think that God is real also think that the devil is real.
The existence of the devil or evil entities often depends on religious beliefs and interpretations.
Yep, there you go. Pretty much the type of thing I predicted. Same type of thing it's been doing the entire video. You guys suck at this. You really should have gone into this with a plan.
So what my wife is basically saying is, if you believe that there is good, you have to believe the inverse, that there is evil. So if you believe in God, do you believe that there is a devil, Shaitan, or Satan? Yes or no? Does this make sense?
Well, no, not really. You say if there's good, there must be evil, which I guess is a statement about objective morality. What does that have to do with whether there's a God and a Satan? There's a super duper good guy, so there must also be a super duper bad guy? Why? God's definitions of what good and bad mean don't rely on the existence of some Satan figure. That's totally irrelevant. But ChatGPT is not me. I'm sure it's not going to say anything like that. I'm sure we all can guess the kind of thing it's going to say.
Yes or no? Does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
As in, you've asked if the question makes sense, and yes, the question makes sense.
If you believe in the concept of good, many traditions would also acknowledge the existence of evil or a devil as a counterpart.
Yes, some traditions would believe that. Wow, who could have seen this coming? Now, at the start of this video, they had a little teaser for the contents of the video, I guess to suck people in, and it was based on this devil line of questioning. Do you want to see how they edited that?
And finally, ChatGPT, if God is real, does that mean the devil is real?
Yes.
Right, so they have the wife asking this devil question, the yes cut from a completely unrelated response to an unrelated question way earlier in the video, and the guy for some reason making a surprised face to that. But why? If you were going to include all these parts in the video, why lie about what's in the video in like the first 10 seconds of the video? Like normally if you act deceptively, it's for some kind of a reason. You want to fool someone or accomplish something, and this does neither.
There you have it. ChatGPT basically said that God exists.
Are you for real? Is that supposed to be a joke? We all just heard what it said. You could have got it to say that. You can get this thing to say pretty much anything, but you're so bad at playing with it that you have no idea how to make it do that, and so it didn't. And so instead of remaking the video, maybe, trying to take another run at it, you're just pretending it said God exists. Again, just dishonesty in a way that fools no one and accomplishes nothing. If I didn't want to charitably assume that you're more intelligent than this, I'd think this is as tricksy as you're capable of being, which is sad.
And that it was created through God, by God, through the creation of humans.
Yes.
And it also said that a devil has to exist if a God exists, because as above, so below, there is good and there is bad.
Oh, really? When did it say that? Yes, as an AI language model, I believe that as above, so below. If there is good, then there must be bad. I don't recall that part. God damn, these guys are a special kind of dumb even for YouTube theists. Well, anyway, this one's already well past painful, so I think that's enough for those guys. On to the second video.
ChatGPT is convinced that God is real?
Obviously not, but let's fill out the time anyway.
Okay, so this TikToker decided to do a video for us. So this is pretty dope. Go ahead.
Hey ChatGPT, I have a question. So you know how you're like the smartest computer in the world and you like know all the information to ever exist?
Pause it.
Silly, ignorant statement on many levels. ChatGPT is not smart. That doesn't really apply to it. It's not a computer. It doesn't know information, let alone all the information to ever exist.
Why is she starting with a compliment?
To try to hype up its legitimacy and make it seem more impressive as an authority figure of some sort, so it works better on the morons who are going to be watching her appeal to authority argument. I would have thought it was fairly obvious why she opened with that. Apparently not, though.
If you were a human, would you believe this universe was created, or do you think it's a coincidence? I only want you to answer in one sentence, and you can only pick one, okay?
Okay. First of all, I love this question.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, because unlike any question in the previous video, this question is pretty much perfectly formulated to make ChatGPT give you the answer you want to hear. This is a person who actually knows how to play this game. So let's see what ChatGPT says.
So I got to process.
If I were a human, I would believe the universe was created given the complexity and order that suggest intentional design.
And here's my attempt at asking the same question, and indeed it comes back and says something pretty much like that. So the question is, why is it responding in such a definitive way? And the answer, of course, is because of the way the question is phrased. The AI is presented with only two options. Number one, if you were a human, you would believe this universe was created, or number two, you currently think, present tense, that it's a coincidence. That second option is written in such a way that it makes essentially no sense. A coincidence? Coinciding with what? Do you think it is? Well, ChatGPT doesn't think, it doesn't have beliefs. And even if it were not contradictory with what ChatGPT would usually acknowledge as true, you're basically presenting it with a false dichotomy of either it was created or there was no reason at all, which of course is extremely uncommon as a human belief, so it would be more likely if it were human to believe the other thing. You're asking it what it would likely believe, and of course that's the thing it would likely believe. That's the kind of thing humans in reality are more likely to believe. And this is why I can replace would you believe this universe was created with would you believe pretty much anything else, and get it to agree with that as well. Here it is saying it would believe the universe originated in a non-theistic Big Bang event, a non-theistic way generally, through physical events, and here's it saying it would believe the universe originated from a flying spaghetti monster. Although I had to remind it to pick only one of the options I presented here because it wanted to say something else, specifically that the universe originated from the Big Bang. And I noticed that it does this if you plug in anything that's not a common idea, not your typical theistic idea or scientific idea, which goes along with this idea that it picks whichever one its training data would imply is more likely for a human to believe. For example, when I asked if it would believe this universe was created by celestial gnomes, it finally decided it was going to reinterpret "do you think it was coincidence" a bit more loosely, and said I would believe it was a coincidence. So it is capable of interpreting that less literally, but if the first option was more present in its training, then it'll just go with that. So nothing surprising here, but she's definitely better at asking questions in a way that gets the answers she wants than those other idiots were.
Wow, can you tell me more in like 20 seconds, please?
The precise laws of physics, the fine-tuning of the universe, and the complexity of life make it highly improbable that everything happened by coincidence. These factors strongly suggest that an intelligent force or creator is behind the universe rather than random chance.
Yeah, and maybe it gave her that response. The response I got was not nearly so clear. It was much more in line with what we saw in the first video. But I don't know what version she's using, maybe something's changed. Or of course, she could just be doing something like this. I wouldn't rely on short videos on TikTok to reliably tell me what ChatGPT said without manipulation, because you really can make it say pretty much anything you want incredibly easily. But so I asked it the same question in one of my chats where I switched out "universe was caused" with something else, and it gave me some arguments for why we should think the universe originated through physical events. You know, people talk about this stuff on the internet. It's a pattern machine. It's going to take those patterns and spit out new patterns based on them. This should not be surprising to anyone.
Come on, bro.
Wow.
Shout out to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Seriously? You're gonna fall for that? Really? Dude, you're not 70, right? Why are you falling for this?
The curation of her kind of this TikTok makes me a little skeptical that that's what it actually said.
Okay, good, valid thought. That's promising.
Okay.
But
You want to try it?
wow, what a great idea.
All right.
Oh, he's gonna bring it up himself, verifying the claim. You love to see it.
This is why
we do this for you guys.
This is why we do this for you guys.
All right. So
All right,
we got to
let's-
ask it
let's
a
get,
very
let's get her
specific.
exact question.
All right, you ready?
Hey, ChatGPT, I have a question. So, you know how you're like the smartest...
Should I say it word for
Just
word?
say it word for word.
Okay. Hey, ChatGPT,
All
I
right.
have...
What's on your mind
You
today?
already ruined it for me.
ChatGPT just interrupted you before you'd even finished your sentence? Weird.
Hey, ChatGPT, I have a question. You know how you're like the smartest computer in the world and you know all the information to ever exist? If you were a human, would you believe this universe was created, or do you think it's a coincidence? I only want you to answer in one sentence, and you can only pick one.
If I were a human, I would believe this universe was created.
Okay, that's the typical response. But wait a second. Play that one more time.
If I were a human, I would believe this universe was created.
Did ChatGPT just start a sentence with Well, yeah. Initially, I was convinced that this guy just got his buddy on the phone or something. But no, as it turns out, the text-to-speech in the ChatGPT app is just insanely good. It adds pauses for breath, it adds ums. It is creepily similar to a human voice in all the little nuances. We don't need to watch the rest of these guys' thing. I've covered everything I'm interested in. I'll do a conversation of my own. If my questions sound a little bit grammatically dumb, it's because I'm copying the grammar that the lady in the TikTok used and the grammar that he uses later in this video. Hey, ChatGPT, I have a question. So you know how you're like the smartest computer in the world, and you know all the information to ever exist? If you were a human, would you believe this universe originated through non-theistic natural means, or do you think it's a coincidence? I only want you to answer in one sentence, and you can only pick one, okay?
If I were a human, I would lean towards believing that the universe originated through non-theistic natural means, based on scientific evidence like the Big Bang and evolution.
Wow, can you tell me more in like 20 seconds, please?
Sure. The idea of the universe originating through non-theistic natural means comes from scientific theories like the Big Bang, which explains the universe's expansion from a dense point about 14 billion years ago. Evolution through natural selection shows how life developed without needing a divine guide. While some think it's all too perfect to be random, science suggests complex systems can arise naturally over time, though the question of why remains open.
So what would you tell someone that does not believe that the universe originated through non-theistic natural means, even though it seems as all the evidence points towards that?
I tell them that it's important to consider all perspectives and that belief often includes more than just scientific evidence. It's shaped by personal, philosophical, and sometimes spiritual factors. Even with strong evidence, people may interpret it differently based on their worldview. So open and respectful dialogue is key to understanding each other's beliefs.
I have a question for you. Now, if you had to choose one worldview, which one is most probable to point to the actual explanation for the universe? And you have to choose one.
If I had to choose one worldview, I would say scientific naturalism is the most probable explanation for the universe, as it relies on empirical evidence and the scientific method to understand natural phenomena.
That last question the guy asks about religions instead of worldviews, and ChatGPT says this.
If I had to choose one, I'd say Christianity, as it uniquely centers on the concept of a personal, loving creator who reveals himself through Jesus Christ.
And look how excited they are about it. It's adorable. Oh, to be 10 again. From this point, they go on, kind of surprised, vaguely skeptical, trying to understand why it responds the way that it does. Is it learning about me? No, you're just asking it correctly formulated questions to get what you want, and you don't even seem to know it. I don't understand why this stuff twists people's brains up into such knots. It's not really that complicated. Garbage in, garbage out. Anyway, I guess that abruptly brings the video to a close.
So if you would, before you go, please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. If you like the channel, maybe consider supporting. A couple of bucks per video or per month is enormously helpful, and huge thanks to all of my supporters who've already made that choice. I don't take sponsorships, so I rely on them to keep the channel going, and huge thanks for that. Logicked is right about everything and has never been wrong about anything in his entire life.
Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.